Welcome to the Get Wealth Show, where we uncover the secrets to building real wealth through real estate from the people who have actually done it. Each episode gives you proven strategies, modern market insight, and actionable steps you can use today to build wealth through real estate investing. Now, here's your host, Michael Hoang.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Michael Hoang, and today I am here with my friend, Andrew Lucas. How's it going, brother?
Hey, man. How are you doing, Michael? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad we could finally get you on. So, Andrew and I are friends. We are in a mastermind together, and we just came back from a conference in Orlando, Florida, where we both got sick.
Yeah. That's what happens when you travel in the springtime.
Yeah, and he said he's sick. I don't see a whole lot of it in him. He's got a strong constitution, or he's on some powerful meds. But excuse me if I sneeze or cough during this podcast because I'm still going through it.
What you don't have is the petri dish of 3 young children. So my immune system has been lifting weights for the last 12 years. So it's pretty strong.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we don't have kids yet. I've talked about it on the show before, but we hope to have kids soon. Now that we have the time and the freedom to do so.
Yeah.
And I have a very close friend who's got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and since he had his first kid, it seems like he's always got a cough or a sniffle or something. So he's definitely got a stronger constitution. So having young kids will do that too, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Andrew, you have an interesting story. You went from an acquisition company to a wholesaling company to an acquisition company. So do you want to talk about where you guys are located and what your company does?
Yeah, for sure. So we're based in Columbia, South Carolina, and just in the heart of South Carolina, we've been working what we call the Midlands, so kind of driving distance around here. And back in 2018 is when we started this acquisitions company because a few years before that, my wife and I, we decided we wanted to go into real estate full time and buy enough rentals so that she could, retire, quit her day job, and go part time at least, and could pick those kids up from school and take them places. So we started buying houses to flip and then to buy more rental properties. And so at the time, 2015, 16, we were getting the deals from agents and people that just knew us and referrals and stuff like that. And then one of our coaches at the time, he asked me, he said, "Hey, I need to get my crew to work. I need them to have a deal. I need them to be working on something. Do you have anything? And you got any ideas, any leads?" And I told him, I said, "Well, I've got this thing under contract that I'm about to close on. And we're going to be, I'm too busy. Like, I don't have anybody to work on it. It's going to be sitting there by itself." And he said, "Well, why don't you just wholesale it to me?" And I swear this was like a word that I'd never heard in my life. I had no clue what it was. This is like 2017. And he said, "Well, let me show you." And he lays it out. And he's like, "I'll pay you an assignment fee. And then you just sign the contract over and voila." And I was blown away. And so when that happened, and this coach was there to help me flip houses, so we weren't talking wholesaling. After that, I went and found a wholesaling coach and found somebody to help me learn that business. And so 2018, my wife and I, we had enough rental properties so she could quit. And then I quit as well at the same time and started wholesaling. So that was my day job. That was my active business. And we started wholesaling. And then we start getting these rumors of new law coming into effect in South Carolina. And a friend of ours got a cease and desist order. Basically, the real estate commission told him, "Hey, you're doing something illegal. You better stop, or here's this massive fine, and we're going to take you to court." And when that happened, gosh, that was probably 2022. I want to say a couple of years ago. We saw the writing on the wall, as many people have seen, and there's been a lot of people with blinders on. They've just kind of ignored it. But wholesaling is getting attacked from regulators, agents, commissions, you name it. And so at that time, we took that wholesaling business and went right back into acquisitions, where we were keeping everything that we bought. So we buy it, and either we flip it or we hold it, or we do like a wholesale model. So it's no more not wholesale, but hotel model where we buy it and put it back on the market. So there's no more assignments. We have to buy everything. We have to go on title. So that's acquisitions to wholesaling and right back to acquisitions. And that's where we are today. And now we hover around 100 units of rentals. That's kind of our sweet spot. We flip houses. We have a program, local meetup here in Columbia, where we actually flip properties with people, with partners. So that's kind of our business today.
Yeah, I've been watching the changes in the regulation with wholesaling, and I think it's great. There's a lot of bad actors out there, people who don't know what they're doing, and that can cause a lot of harm. Also, it just creates opportunities for people that are doing it the right way. For example, when you can close on the property, in some states you could do a double close, and that counts. I've heard in some markets you're buying the property, putting in an LLC, and selling the LLC. In some markets, but when we can do business the right way, it creates a lot of opportunity. So, how have the regulations impacted your market there in South Carolina?
Yeah, it's still kind of working its way through. What we immediately saw was a lot of the wholesalers, the nationwide wholesalers that were just out there looking for the low hanging fruit, calling hundreds of thousands of people looking for that one person that's like, yes, I'm ready to sell at a discount. I'm super motivated. Please buy my house today. So all of that low hanging fruit going to the big wholesalers, a lot of that's gone away, and they're not coming into this state because it's just there's risk now. There's a little bit of risk. And so we're seeing fewer and fewer wholesalers trying to assign deals. What does that mean? That means that now there's more opportunity for us as an established home buyer and an established acquisitions company in our market. We have more opportunity. Now, unfortunately, the side effect of all this is that the homeowners, the sellers, they have fewer options. And that on our side of the table, that could be good, right? When you have fewer options, that means we could pay less. But for the marketplace, for people with homes that need to sell, distressed sellers and distressed properties, they're ultimately going to have fewer options, and they may not find the option. We may not get to them if they don't see our marketing. They may not know that they have another option for their property, and they could lose it, to the foreclosures or to the tax sale or just to decay, because they didn't know they had options. So there's a little bit of side effect from this, but right now, as we look at it, there's just a lot less wholesalers in our market.
Mm. So, um, are you guys doing direct to seller marketing right now?
Yeah. So we do postcards, we have TV ads, and our website are our main three.
TV ads, man, tell me about that. I haven't talked to a whole lot of people doing TV ads.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It never sleeps. TV ads go 24/7, and we're on all the major networks, the local networks, in our market, and it's an amazing. It's branding, for our company. We're a local home buyer, and when you want to be a local home buyer and known in your community for that, the TV is the best way to do it. So we are always there. It's almost you probably, if you watch any TV, you hear the injury, personal injury, the car wreck lawyers or whatever. We're kind of on the same channels as those guys, and ours are not as annoying as them. I think. We have our family in the commercial, and what we really are trying to do, and what we've been doing for years, we've been on TV for 3 or 4 years now. What we're trying to do is let the community know that you have options, that they, as homeowners, have options. They don't have to go with what people think of as the traditional sales route, where you find an agent, pay them a fee, put it on the market, and just pray and hope that something happens. No, we are an option where you can call us. we'll come in, we'll talk to you, we'll evaluate the property and give you a fair offer right then and there. And you don't have to take it, of course, but at least you know you have options. So putting that out on TV has been great, because otherwise most of our community would never know that was an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. So a lot of people that watch this show are kind of new, just getting into real estate. So sometimes what we talk to is like, we talk to people that have like actionable advice for people, and then sometimes what we have is like kind of aspirational topics that we talk to for new
Yeah.
people. So if somebody wanted to get started with TV, what kind of budget should they be looking at?
Yeah. So first thing, if you want to start with TV, is to go to a TV professional. You don't go straight to the stations. Same with radio. These are legacy media. Have you heard that term, legacy media outlets? They've been doing this for a really long time, and the salespeople are really good at getting money out of their advertisers. So I would suggest finding a professional buyer. And then the budget, I mean, it really depends on what that buyer is able to provide for you, but it's not really that much. I hate to put a number on it, but if you could do, if you're in a reach of 1 million people and you could put $10,000 a month on TV, you're going to do just fine. I think if you are able to do somewhere around 3,000 a month, you can ultimately probably get a deal every month or so. But if you can really saturate it with about 10, you're going to look at something that's a consistent lead flow. Like our phone rings off the hook. So we're very happy with it. And it's about 10,000 is what we spend for about $1 million person area.
Nice. And then what kind of commitment are they looking for when you do media buys on TV?
That's a good question. We've been doing it for so long. I don't think we started with a contract. Maybe because they recorded we went into the studio. We went into a local studio to record the commercials. So maybe we agreed to do, a couple of months, 6 months, 3 months or something, just since we didn't pay for the studio. That was their people, their time. So maybe there was something back then, but I mean, right now we could turn it on, turn it off if we want to, which we don't want to. It's really good. The cool thing is so our postcards used to be our number one, and since 2018. But last year, something really strange happened with our postcards, and our response rate was really, really low. We weren't getting phone calls or deals. I think we tracked it back to bad data. We just had a bad data batch or something. But the TV kept bringing deals, kept getting the phone to ring, and so we've stayed with that, and we obviously won't change unless it stops making the phone ring. Yeah.
Number one thing I've got to tell entrepreneurs and real estate investors: when something works, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
Do not mess with it.
And just to keep going on that thought, is our TV commercial has been the same for 3 years. I believe it's 3 years. And we look at it and we say, gosh, I am tired of that commercial. We need to change that commercial. But the reality is nobody knows us. Like, nobody is tired of that commercial. Nobody sees it so much that they're tired of it. If they do, then they're calling us, or they're not our target, right? It doesn't matter if they've seen it too much and they're tired of it. We just have to remember that it's the consistency that works, and don't change it if the phone is still ringing. And so our kids are, you don't know this, but like between 9 and 12, my kids have grown a ton. I'm sitting here doing this, like, so he was here and now he's here. And if we record it, we need to do a new one just so we get their new kids on there. But when we do it, it's going to be like a totally different family. We're going to look so different. But we don't have to, because the phone it's still working. And that's one of the things that people in this business and a lot of businesses with their marketing, they get tired of the marketing because they see it all the time. But the public, the people you're marketing to, they don't actually see it nearly as much as you think they do.
Right, right. And the people you're trying to help don't care if your son is 6 or 9.
That's
They
right.
just need help with their property.
They don't care if he's older now. They don't care that he's had braces and gotten them off. Like, there's so much has happened since that
One
last
day
time.
you can send him on seller's appointments, when he's a
Yeah,
teenager, and you could be like, "Did you see the commercial?"
that was me.
That was me.
Yep.
Are you ready to get started on your real estate investing journey? Well, we put together free resources to help you get started. Check the link in the description.
Oh man, I love that. And so, if someone wanted to do TV, what kind of back end infrastructure should they expect to have? I mean, do they need an acquisition guy? Do they need one? Do they need 10? What do you talk about when you talk about infrastructure to capture and process all the leads?
Yeah, we started with just what we already had. So we've always been an inbound lead company, meaning we sent postcards out and people would call us. We would do Google pay-per-click ads and people would call us. And TV, people call us. So we were already set up with that. One of the major pieces of that when we started with TV, though, is we wanted someone to answer the phone 24/7. So when people call at 2 a.m., not that you have to make the deal at 2 a.m., they just want to know that their voice has been heard. They've made the call. They've started a process. So we always had an answering service, but we activated that answering service to answer every single phone call from TV, which means no matter what time they call, they at least talk to a live person, and they know that we have their info, and they know that we are on it and we're working with them. So I think that's very important. And now, recently, we've actually activated that for every phone call, even postcards. Where postcards we used to say, let them leave a message. So if they want to opt out, we could just get it through the voicemail. But what we found is people hate voicemail. They won't leave it. And I'll leave this tip for everybody: just have someone answer the phone live, because what we found is when they don't leave the voicemail, now we're calling them back 3, 4, 5, 10 times because no lead left behind. If they called and hung up, we assume they wanted to talk to us. And so our acquisitions team is calling, calling, calling. And if they have to call 10 times, you know how many minutes that is? Just the phone dialing and then getting the computer set up and getting ready to talk. You're probably, with each dead lead, each person that just wanted to opt out that didn't leave a message, we probably waste 30 minutes of calling and going back and calling and going back in the lifetime of that lead. So if we could have someone answer the phone right then and there, and we pay that person, by the minute, so it's probably, I don't know, probably $3 or $4 that we paid, and they just say, "Oh, opt out, done." It's so much more efficient. Our acquisition team loves it, and I'm so thankful that we started that. So if you can afford it, have the answering service answer every call.
Yeah, people want instant gratification. And
Yeah.
so I always tell people, if you can't answer the phone live, someone on your team or an answering service needs to. I know a bunch of people in the land space, they use Pat's Live
Yeah.
to answer their calls. And I tell everybody about this. If you can't answer it live, someone needs to, because what would you do if you wanted a pizza and you called Domino's and Domino's didn't answer? Are you going to leave a voicemail and wait for them to call back? No, you're going to call Pizza Hut and
That's
you're
right.
going to put it in order.
Yep.
And so people want some sort of instant gratification or some sort of acknowledgement that their call is important. So if you can't get it yourself, man, that lead that you paid money to come in, that is money. And so you need to turn it over to some kind of live answering service.
Yep.
So you're not assigning contracts, but you are wholetailing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're wholetailing. And for everybody listening, a wholesale is where you buy the property. You may clean it up. You may do some minor improvements to it. You may not, depending on the situation. And you list it at an attractive price on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Typically just underneath whatever the comps for the fully rehab properties are. At least the guys here in Houston I know that do wholetailing, they do it just a little bit under what the comps are for the property, and then they're successfully selling it. So I was going to ask you like what's your cost per contract and what's your assignment fee, because I talked to a lot of wholesalers on this
Yeah.
show, but you're in South Carolina, you don't have an assignment fee. So how do you even track that KPI? What do you guys call that?
Yeah, well, it's profit.
There we go.
Yeah, it's just pure profit at this point. So, what we did find is we were wholesaling for a number of years, and when it was all said and done, and don't get me wrong, wholesaling has a place for some people. I prefer to. I like the fact that wholesaling is there because it fills a void in the market space. If agents and investors, if they were able to talk to every seller, every property owner, then wholesalers wouldn't exist, right? If they were able to get the job done, then all of these amazing wholesalers wouldn't be there talking to sellers and connecting the dots. So they're there to fill a space. But what we found is that the wholesaling method, the game plan of wholesaling, of getting something under contract and trying to liquidate it as fast as possible with this deadline that you set on yourself, because you're selling speed and convenience to the seller, which means you lock it up and you only got 15 days to turn it around. Well, that sets this new ticking time bomb on going and finding a buyer. And the buyers got wise. Okay, the buyers figured it out. They realized that, well, if you're not going to come down on price, I'll just wait because I know that your time bomb is going to explode. So where we were getting, 15 to 20,000 in assignment fees, when we stopped wholesaling, the average had gone down to 12,500, somewhere around there. And we turned around, and for the next year, we tracked all the data and put it together in the actual profit. So when we started buying and selling, so closing on the deal, paying lenders, paying an agent to sell it on the MLS, paying for pictures and light cleanup. When we moved to this wholesale method, we actually doubled the profit. So 12.5 assignment up to $24,000, 600, something like that. 24,600. I got a Facebook post I have to go find with the numbers on it, but it turned it into a $24,000 profit. And that's after paying for the lender and the agents and things like that. And the only reason for that is that we were not under a time crunch anymore, and we had access to everybody. MLS allows access to every buyer out there, and we were not under a time constraint. So wholesaling, I guess, yeah, it's okay to get started and do some of the business, but it's as soon as you can start buying the property and closing on it and putting your name on it, the business model opens up, and you could start earning enough to grow and to scale and to invest and to buy and hold and those types of things. So, I think people need to be thinking bigger and better per deal.
That's an interesting tip. Here's how to double your assignment fees. Stop doing assignments.
Stop doing assignments. You want to know how to double your assignment fees? Stop wholesaling.
Oh man, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone was new to wholetailing before before myself, if I was going to go out and wholetail more, how would I know it was a deal that I wanted to do? Would I go look at like pendings versus actives versus sold comps on the MLS? How would I know like, oh man, I want to wholetail this, or ooh, I don't want to touch anything in this zip code. Let me step away from it.
Absolutely. It's you go with your sold comps and then review it with what's active. Here's the kicker. The market's always changing, right? So we got to, figure out what the sold comps are, and then that's kind of your base, but then go with what's active, because if you're going to wholesale it, you still are working with your profit now is based on how fast you can move it, because the biggest the biggest thing that will eat up your profit is going to be your lender fees and your interest and your holding costs. So looking at what's available on the market, you want to make sure that you can price your property good. You want to be able to, undercut, if for lack of a better word. You want to be a on sale property. You want to be the one that's like, ooh, you're going to be the next one sold in this market, this neighborhood, this county, whatever, whatever you're looking at. So the goal of the wholesaler is to be the next property sold. And so what do you have to do to make that happen? You got to have an attractive price, and you got to have a property that's good enough. And good enough means that someone can buy it and move into it typically so that they can get traditional financing. Now, the other side of that coin is it could just be a wreck, right? And then it's got to be really priced well for investors. So there's two sides of that, but typically your hotel is something that someone can move into because they can work on it as they live there.
Yeah, I found very healthy submarkets whenever I was pricing properties to sell. I had a bunch of rentals that I held for years, and then I got the tenant out, refreshed the property, and I listed for sale. And what I really like to see is like a reverse pyramid where you have a small number of actives, you have a decent amount of pendings, and then you had a ton of sold comps. So in my mind, it's a reverse pyramid. There's a funnel sucking inventory off the market. What would scare me if I wanted to wholesale is like a pyramid where you have tons and tons of actives, a handful of pendings, and then very few solds in the last 6 months. That would scare me.
Yes, absolutely. And we also look at the stuff that's on the market and how long has it been on the market. We want to look at things in an area that properties are selling faster than the average. That's our go-to. That's our golden spot. If things are taking longer than the average days on market for your whole market, then you just know that you have to price better. It doesn't mean that it's not a deal to do. It doesn't mean you can't make money on it. It just means you have to you have to value that and then price it better so that you can move it faster. It means you just got to entice buyers a little bit more.
Yeah, anybody who tells me real estate's illiquid, I tell them that they're not pricing it fast enough. Because if you go into a room of people and say, anybody want a 12% cash on cash return on their money? Hands go up. Does anybody want to? No, not enough people. You want a 15% cash return on money? More hands go up. 25% more and go up. All right, you. House is sold. So real estate is not illiquid. You're just not pricing it correctly.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And then for when you wholesale these properties, you want them to qualify for FHA or conventional Fannie Freddie financing. You want them to be move-in ready. So what would I look for when I go into these properties? Like if there's a toilet missing, we got to put in a toilet, right?
Yeah.
If there's a leak in the roof, we gotta make the roof not leak. You might not need to do a whole new roof. You might need to patch the roof. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And FHA is a little bit tougher. So typically when we're doing these hotels, we're going to say we're not taking FHA for the first 30 days because we know that FHA they're going to have an anti-flipping rule, which means you have to appraise again and again. And we don't have to get into that right now, but basically it makes it harder. They're also going to have a repair addendum that's going to be more extensive. So we'll let it sit there before we start talking FHA. The other part is for conventional lending, there are requirements. So the roof has to be in good shape. Certain appliances have to be there. Of course, the toilet, the floor coverings have to be there. You can't pull the carpet and leave it wood. Now, you don't have to do all that work. The beautiful thing about wholesaling is you can actually put a canvas out there. You can put the property out there and offer $20,000 in seller credits if you want. And then when that buyer comes up, they could say, well, my lender won't let me take 20,000 in seller credits, but will you go ahead and give me the stove and the carpet? And we'll say, sure. And guess what? You pay for that when the property sells, and now you're able to do rehab without taking it out of your pocket. So there's lots of different ways to wholesale. You don't have to have a perfect house out there. But if you can put it out there with the factoring in what needs to happen, and you leave it out, sometimes you might surprise yourself because you could put it out knowing it needs carpet. And in our mind, we're saying, well, we assume someone's going to ask for carpet, so we're going to have $10,000 aside. If we give them the carpet for $10K, that's fine. We still have our profit number. But if they don't ask, we don't have to give it to them. And now our number is better, or they can get a better price, right? So that's the beautiful thing about wholesaling is you kind of put it out there, and it's a blank canvas. We can work deals however we want. We have more flexibility because we haven't poured all this money and time and energy and effort into making the house what it is. So yeah, that's one of the beautiful things that most people don't think about is we have so much more flexibility when we do it that way.
Right. And another thing that I've got some negative comments when I've talked publicly about wholesaling, that we're just investors trying to put a bad product out there. But I can tell you that I know several people here in Houston that do a lot of wholesaling, and there is a lot of families out there that just need an affordable, safe, functioning place to live. Some people don't mind doing the work themselves. They just need to get a home. They're tired of throwing their money away for on rent,
Yeah,
and they want a backyard for their kids. And some people don't need 2025 standard all new granite countertop and gray shining tile. Um, and so we just got to provide a product that the market wants, because if you're wholesaling a property, if a wholesale house won't sell in your area, then there's no demand for it. And everyone I know that's ever wholesale a property, it's sold. There's demand for it. There's a
yeah,
buyer that wants that product. They want safe, clean, functional housing. That's all
yeah.
they want at a price they can afford.
Yeah, and one of the downsides to all of us flippers out there making these beautiful homes is that every time we do that, we have to get paid for it. We have to pay for the contractors, pay for the holding costs, pay for the investment, pay for the risk. Um, and so every time a flipper comes in, that house is now further and further out of reach for some home buyers. And so what you just said is if you put a product out there that people will can live in, and it doesn't have to be spruced up, and doesn't have to have everything new, then that allows a family or person, somebody to get into a home that if we did do the flipping, they may not be able to afford. And so, yes, I 100% agree with what you're saying. Is there is a market space for it, and that's why it works.
Yeah, I love that, man. I could sit here and talk to you all day about this, but we got to get you out of here. I know you have another meeting coming up soon, so I'm going to move to the last part of the show here, uh, where we talk about on every episode. I tell the story that we think that we are our life is like a ship, and we're sailing an ocean, and ships are slow to turn and move, and so people think that their path that they're on is a path of their own choosing, but typically it's actually one where your friends, family, the school you went to, where you grew up, other people set your ship to sail on its course.
Mhm.
And so, as I've talked to real estate investors and entrepreneurs, they've all told me that it's usually a book that changed the course of their life into real estate or entrepreneurship. So, I
Mhm.
ask every guest in every episode, what book changed the course of your life the most?
That's a great question. So, in 100%, we are just vessels being directed all over this all over this earth, and the good Lord has given us opportunities to do things with our lives. And I have the book, I think, right here because most people haven't seen it. Um, this is called Hold, and when Michelle and I, my wife, when we had a couple of accidental rental properties. So the first house I bought right out of college, I knew I wanted to rent it out, but I didn't know what I was doing. Overpaid, all the bad things. And then Michelle had a house. We moved out, or she moved out. We moved in together when we got married. And then, so anyway, we had four houses, but we weren't making any money. And we were about to just quit and give it all away. But an agent friend who had brought us a house, brought us a deal, gave me this book, and it might be the first book I ever read cover to cover. I sat down and read it. The words are big, there's lots of pictures, and it actually talked about and opened up my eyes to the fact that owning real estate, owning rental properties can actually provide income today. In my mind, I was thinking rental properties was going to be retirement income. Now, it sounds crazy now. I just, TikTok videos and social media, a lot of people talk about rental houses as income cash flow today. That's not where I came from. That I had no idea that that was a thing back in 2007, 2008. So this book right here, it turned me on to actually building it as a business, which then turned into Michelle and I's a goal of getting the 35 rental properties so that she could, quasi retire, which then introduced us to wholesaling, which then introduced me to complete entrepreneurship, where we both are out running our businesses today, and which got us to where we are now. So without that book, we probably would not still be in real estate.
Wow, I've had a lot of book recommendations on this show, but I've never heard of Hold.
Yep.
I got it pulled up over here. I'm adding it to my reading list right now. Love that. And if anybody wants to get my reading list, you can go to my Instagram at Michael B. Someone click on the link in the description, and there'll be the top 10 books for successful real estate investors in 2025. We'll get you that list of that book there. Hold. This is great, man. It's kind of rare that someone comes on the show and talks about a book that we've never had before. I've never heard of before, because I have hundreds of books on my Audible and on the shelf behind me. I'm excited. I'm excited to read a book that I've never heard of before.
It's all going to be recap for you because you're so experienced in this, but you're going to like it.
No, that is really important, though. I like to tell people there's a couple books I reread every year. One of them is, you could have guessed it, Rich Dad Poor Dad, because the words in the book never change, but I do. Mm-hmm. And so there's certain messages in books I wasn't ready to hear. And so as I've grown and evolved as an investor and as an entrepreneur, I've reread the same books, and I've got something different from them every time. And it kind of reminds me, like when I was a kid, I would think, I went to Sunday school as a kid quite frequently, and we would play with toys or do whatever the little kids do. And I would wonder, why are the adults downstairs like reading the same Bible over and over? Like, I know my mom has read the entire Bible cover to cover multiple times. I didn't understand, like, there's no new Bible. Like, what are they doing down there while we're up here having snacks and playing? And I now understand it, because you get something different from the same message every time, depending on where you're at in your journey and what you were ready to hear. Mm-hmm. So there's a few books I reread every year. I guess for you, that's Hold. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then we're real big believers in the Go-Giver here. Yeah. So we I like to tell everybody, if your idea of coming into this space is to hold firewood in your hand and tell the fireplace, give me warmth first, and then I'll give you this wood, it's going to be a very cold winter for you. So I ask every guest on every episode, what can you give the audience today?
Well, yeah, I'd love to give the audience, whatever they need right now to kind of get going and get their business started. So we have a local meetup here. We do local events every week. And I tell everybody in our community, just to jump on my calendar. If you are stuck, you feel like you just can't get over the next hump, or you need direction, just to jump on the calendar for a quick chat. So I'll give you that link, dealfindersclub.com. Just go there, top right corner, 15-minute chat. We find that most people are stuck for two reasons. One of two reasons. One is they don't have direction. They don't know which way they're going. They don't have a goal. Or the second one, some people call it analysis paralysis. I call it a healthy risk of fear. Fear of the risk, sorry. Healthy fear of the risks. And either one of those is okay. But if they stop you from moving, then it's a problem. So I like to assess that with people and help them figure out what's the next step. So glad to help people with that. You can find me on our social media, dealfindersclub.com.
Dealfindersclub.com. Awesome. And then what can the audience give you today?
Yeah, I'd love for you guys just to connect on social, like, share, comment, whatever. Let's get connected and let's do this business. So I'm a firm believer that rising tide lifts all ships. So if we can help other people do this business and get successful, I think it'll benefit everybody. So
on dealfindersclub.com, you have links to your social media, or where should they go to find those?
Yeah, you can go there, or Andrew Lucas on it's the Andrew R. Lucas on Instagram, and same with social Facebook.
Awesome. And I am Michael Hoang. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, give me a 5-star review if you think I deserve one on Apple and Spotify. And if you have any questions, shoot me a text. It's 832-301-9672. Until next time, this is Michael Hoang and Andrew Lucas signing off.
Each week on the Get Wealth Show, you hear real conversations with investors, entrepreneurs, and operators who are building real wealth in the real world. If you're ready to start building wealth through real estate, click the link in the description for free resources and tools to help you get started. And if you want more practical, real-world conversations, follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. We'll see you next time on the Get Wealth Show.